Hey YouTube, welcome to my channel. It's Raggedy and Red. Today I'm going to repot 2 or 3 of my plants. So I'm just going to show you. I already had things set up. Let's see if I can lift it up so you can see. So I just put like an old blanket or sheet on my table. I got my soil already mixed, my soil blend. Have something to scoop the soil. I'm just going to use these gloves, and I have some scissors, so I'm going to trim my roots. I've already cleaned the scissors using some soap and water, and then I dipped them or poured some alcohol. I think it was 70, either 70 or 90%, 91% or something like that. So I've already done that. They're clean and ready. And then I have my plant right here. So I'm sorry, sun's running in the background. So I already have that set up. You can get you a container or something. Like I said, I got this from somewhere. You can just get a plastic bin, and it's nice to have it because then you can have your soil already in there. So I have most of my supplies ready. The water is kind of sitting to the side, but it's okay. So the first thing you want to do is, actually, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this pole. It's not a moss pole, but a pole off. So hold on for a second. So with my pole, it's not, the roots, the aerial roots are not, they don't grow into this type of pole. So I can remove this pole easily. And all I'm going to do is just, I'm carefully taking off the Velcro straps, and then I'm just slowly unwinding the vines off of the pole. I guess that's one of the benefits of using something besides a moss pole, because if you do just want to repot, you don't have to worry about the roots already being established inside the pole. But there are pros to using a moss pole too. So not to say you shouldn't have one, because I do like, so far I'm liking my moss poles for the plants that I have more. So first thing I'm going to do, like I said, I'm just taking all this now I'll just show you these things, just attaching the plant to this pole. And come around, and I'll just, so the reason why I'm repotting this Monstera is I purchased it in 2023. It was what I call a rescue purchase. I purchased it from like the clearance rack in Home Depot. I only got it for like $3. It was a nice size, but it was in bad condition. It had been overwatered. It had a lot of yellow leaves. When I repotted it, the soil was very wet. It had a lot of roots at the time. And in here, which is a metal, I think it's like a line stake, and it's metal. I had cut it and used it, so I use this to kind of keep the pole stable. So I have taken off, remove the pole. Now I'm going to take the plant. What you want to do is just kind of tip it a little bit. So just slowly tip it and see if it'll come out. You don't want to pull, because you can pull the plant, but the first thing you want to do is just kind of shake. And if it doesn't come out from shaking, and it did, just sort of shaking it a little bit. So my hands, you see, are in there. What's stuck in there is some stuff that's stuck. It's probably the roots. And I'm just lightly taking my hands, and then there, it's out. So I'm going to take a look at the roots since they're out. Let me see if I can lift it so you can see. So here are, I don't know if you can see. Really, I'm almost wondering if I should go down the pot size. I talk about that a lot, how overpotting can be an issue. And honestly, when I look at the size of the roots, it's not, I mean, it's actually kind of not enough to fill that. So I'm not sure why I picked that pot in the first place, but I think I'm going to go down a pot size. This one is too big, and one issue I think this plant is having is the same issue that some of my plants have had in the past, where I know, I keep repeating this bit of information or advice. Please do not use really big pots. Your plants will suffer over time. Please look at my other videos and I'll explain it in more detail. So I think this one is I want to say this is a 5-inch. So in order to pick the appropriate size pot, you want to grab the pot, try to grab the plant, be as gentle as possible. So I'm just going to place this in and see if I can fit it all in. So I can fit the roots in, but the problem is I won't be able to get a pole in there. So that's not going to work. So I'm going to go up one more. Let me see if I got another pot. And this is one reason why I say it's better sometimes just to have the cheap nursery pots, because then you can just kind of swap out and not feel obligated to use a specific pot. So this one I want to say is an 8-inch. I'm going to try an 8-inch pot. So again, just you can try to pick up your plant carefully, see if it'll fit. This is more than enough room. And it should fit the pole in it. Now the stability of it, that's another issue. I'm just going to try it out. So I have my pot. It's got holes in it. Now what you want to do is first you want to feel the bottom. So you want to put a little bit of soil in the bottom. I'll show you. You may have to go back and kind of play around. So I put that much where it's covered. I put soil at the bottom of my pots to leave room so that more roots will be able to grow in the future, and also to pad to make it where when I put the plant down in the pot that it's not too far down into the pot, because if you have the stems and the leaves, they're covered with soil, that can lead to rot as well. So you just want the roots to be covered with soil. Covered. Then you're going to carefully, and I thought I was going to have to trim the roots, but I don't think I have to. The roots actually are not as full as I thought, but they are healthy. See, they're nice and white. You can see them, are beige. So now I'm going to carefully put the plant back in. So I'm using the side of the pot to kind of hold the plant up, because it is, it's a binding plant and sometimes the vines will get in the way. So try to keep the plant, keep keep the vines as organized as possible. And it does get more difficult as the plants get bigger. Let's see. And then I actually have 2 plants in here. And I'm trying to figure out what I was doing. So let me see. Oh, there it is. Ah, and it's got a root on it. So see how I have this bobby pin? I cut off a piece and then I stuck this down into the soil and it is growing a root now. So that's one way you can feel, if you have plants like a pothos or a monstera or something where it's looking bare, you can wrap the stems around, and if they have the little nodes, which a node will be, let's see if I can see these little bumps on the end. Let's see if I can get closer. See those little, let's see if I can find another bump. I'll take my sorry guys. And there it is. See those little bumps? These little nodules, little bumps, these will grow. This is where aerial roots can grow. So if you have a plant and it's looking leggy, so the stem doesn't have a lot of leaves on it, you can wrap that around, and as long as it has those little nodes, those little bumps, you can pin them down like a hairpin or something, and then eventually it will root, and then you can kind of fill in that space. That's one of the benefits of plants like a monstera or a pothos. So now what you want to do is you're just taking the soil. I'm just using actually my gloved hand and just lightly fill the top, fill it, and right now, since I'm using the side of this as a support, I'm also going to stick this pole in as close as I can. Yeah, I know. And I'm going to, what happened to the little green thing? Oh, I have it. I don't know. There it is. So I'm using this as kind of like an extra support too. And I'm probably going to wrap it around. So I'm glad I looked at this plant. Really, about 2 or 3 years, you should, even if you have not repotted, you should take your plants out and inspect them, look at the roots and stuff. I'm going to use one of these, those little green Velcro attachments. Okay, so I'm trying to use gloves to be neat, and it's better, you should use some kind of gloves, garden gloves or something. But sometimes, honestly, it's just easier to work just with my bare hands. So I'm taking it off, and I'll show you once I get that on there. So what you're going to do is just keep filling up the soil. Sometimes I can undersoil, so I can underfill. So what happens is you'll put all your soil in, and when you water it, that water makes the soil set, and then you realize you needed more soil. So sometimes I end up having to come back. Let me show you how it looks so far. So it's got the soil in there. And then what I'm going to do is, let's see, I'm going to wrap the little node that was growing a root. I'm going to just move a little bit of soil out. Actually, I'm just going to dump some soil out because I want to get that back in. You taking them? Okay. And gonna just cover that again because I really want that full look. I mean, I do like the vining action, but I do want the plant to eventually look nice and bushy. And it was starting to get a little leggy. So actually, I don't like that. So you just first, you got to just play around. Play around with it. If you have something on a pole, you have to kind of put the plant in a position in which it'll be close enough to the pole where you can attach it, if that makes sense. So if you don't put it close enough, then it'll be harder to attach it. So now I have the pole in, I have the plant in the soil, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start wrapping or attaching one of the stems to the pole. And again, this is not a moss pole, this is a coco coir. So it's not going to attach, but what I like about this is it gets all those stems up off, you know, so that they're all not just sprawling out everywhere. And then the leaves tend to grow bigger when it has support. In nature, these plants are growing up on trees and different things, so they have something that they attach to, and then they reach up towards the sun. If you haven't looked at a tropical forest, you know, take a look, Google some pictures of it, and you can see what I mean. So now I'm just going to reattach it, and this is going to take a little bit of, you know, playing around, and I'm going to try to wrap it back around. One of the problems, or one of the cons with having a large plant like this and trying to put it on a pole, it's harder because, you know, your vines are already established and you got to work with the plant. Whereas if you start and you have a much smaller plant, it grows on that support. And so you're not having to kind of play around and rearrange and stuff. It was very easy for me to put my smaller plants on moss poles because they didn't have all the vines. So this, I just kind of have to find a way to wrap it in a way that it's gonna look halfway decent, but it's hard because these leaves are going every which way. So I'm going to continue doing this, and you want to try to attach it as close as possible, but don't use something that is going to be very tight or it'll snap. So that's why I'm kind of, sometimes you can't get it super tight and like against the pole. You don't want to break your plant. So I have all that on there, and now I still have that part that I told you that I had rooted. So now that I have the main stem on, I'm gonna try to use that bobby pin that I have already, and then try to stick it back in. And of course, it's not wanting to do anything. Okay, I'm just gonna keep pushing. Let's see if I can. I might need, let me take this off. Oh no, I think I knocked off the root. Oh no. Okay, so that's one of the problems. But you know, like I said, you have to be careful when you're repotting because you can break stuff off. But since it has nodes down there and you saw that it had that little tiny root, I know it's going to root eventually. So now what I've done is, see if you can see it. So it's not like the best looking, but it's on there. What I'm hoping is that it stays upright when I put it in its respective place, because you know, this is a smaller pot. And one of the benefits of the pot that it was in is that it was bigger, sturdier. Now I got it in a smaller one, so I'm hoping once I water this plant, and then it'll kind of settle. So let's see. Well, please excuse me. I have boys, and boys, they like to make a lot of noise. So just ignore. So this is it for this plant. Next thing you want to do after you've repotted, if the soil is not drenched. Now, if this, you know, if the soil is wet, then you don't need to do anything. But in this case, this plant was needing to be watered. So I'm going to water it. I have a watering can waiting for it. And once I get that watered, I'll take it back up and put it back in its place. So it's very easy. The next plant that I have is not on a moss pole. I have a money tree, and I have a ZZ plant. So I'll show you how I do the ZZ plant. The ZZ plant is in a big pot, and I'm wondering too if I can downsize to a smaller pot. So this is a good tip. Just because you start off using a larger pot doesn't always mean that you need to go bigger and bigger. Sometimes you may need to go smaller if the roots aren't as big, you know, the root system isn't as big as you thought it was. Sometimes you stay in the same size pot and you just need to refresh your soil. It just depends on the plant. In this case, I actually thought that I was going to keep it in its original pot, but I actually downsized several. I don't know what size this is, but I went down some sizes on the pot. And so that's not what I was expecting. So when you're replanting, this is a good point. When you are repotting, have some pots available of different sizes, so that if you get it out and you look at it, the plant, and it needs a bigger pot, you have it, or a smaller one. Or be prepared to just put it back in and come back and revisit. Thanks YouTube for visiting my channel and just sitting and listening to me while I was repotting my Monstera. If you want to see me repotting my ZZ plant and my money tree, please look at the part 2 video that I will be posting. And please like, subscribe, leave comments, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.